Hey you guys, it's Leslie with Phat Flossing. Welcome back to my crazy little life. I'm back so soon, who'd have thunk, less than a week even, all thanks to Cheryl McKinney of Tranquil Stitches. And Cheryl, thank you so much for inviting me to participate in your designer showcase idea. I've watched a couple of videos from Lynette and Kathy so far, and I found them fascinating, and I hope I can offer something. The bad news is, when I stitched before, and I started stitching in the late 70s and stitched up till 2002 when I took a 15-year hiatus. I gave away almost everything I stitched. I think I have 2, maybe 3 pieces left from that time period, but I would stitch it and gift them to people. In my old age, I have become much more selfish and I don't give everything away. But unfortunately, while I have lots of patterns from way back, I don't have lots of stitching to show from way back. But we'll just wing it. How's that? But I hope you guys are enjoying watching the other ladies. They'll all be linked down below. And I hope you go and watch and subscribe to them. They're a bunch of folks that I really admire and enjoy watching. And again, Cheryl, thank you so much for thinking of me and inviting me to be included. I appreciate it. So, moving on from that, the first designer I wanted to talk to you and tell you a little bit about is Mosey N Me. And I stitched a number of Mosey N Me patterns back in the day. And I will tell you that my tastes have evolved a little bit, but this is one that I still plan to do at some point. Their designs tended to be fairly bright. I think hideous here is hilarious. Very cute patterns, a lot of them. This is another one that I plan to get done at some point. One of the ones I did one last year, and it was a gift from my friend Charlotte. And I've already passed that pattern along as a giveaway. But anyway, Mosey N Me put out a lot of patterns. They started designing, I believe, in around 1990-ish. And we're still active up to through the early 2000s. They still have an active website. It's, oh, fiddle fart. I didn't write it down, and I can't remember the name of it right now, but I found it this morning. And they do not do direct sale to the public from that website, but you can go and view a bunch of their patterns. But their patterns are still available from some of the distributors, and a number of needlework shops still carry some of them. And there are a plethora of their patterns still available on eBay and the other secondary market sites for reasonable prices. They're not rare and they're not expensive, and they are a lot of fun. One of the interesting things about them is Frank Bialik, and the designers are Frank and Judy Bialik from Katy, Texas, which was a couple hours up the road from me when I lived in Texas, so I always found that interesting. But Frank is a TV star. Frank was one of the designers on the Trading Spaces show that ran, I think, from around 2000 to 2008-ish. And again, I always got a kick out of seeing him and doing his designing thing and knowing he was also designing cross stitch. But there are a lot of fun patterns, and they were pretty prolific. They had a lot of patterns. I wish you could see Hitty a little better because she's hilarious, but it's overcast today because we're going to be getting the remnants of Hurricane Barry, so I've got crap light. But anyway, look up some Mosey N Me, a lot of fun patterns. And like I said, while my taste may have evolved, I probably use an overall more subdued color palette these days. Still, lots of very pretty, really fun designs from them. One of the other designers that I did a number of patterns for was Fanci That. And Fanci That is no longer designing. Their website is defunct. I do believe you may still be able to find some of their patterns at some needlework shops. And there's again, a plethora of them available on eBay and the other secondary market sites for very reasonable prices. Don't go pay a fortune for them because they're really common. One of the ones, and I looked for this one this morning, I did back in the mid-90s, one of a cat. I had a Norwegian forest cat named Tulip, and they had a really cute kitty pattern, and I did not find that when I just looked. Sorry for the grumpy cats. When I looked briefly this morning for that, I couldn't find that pattern, but I did that to make it look like my Tulip and changed all the colors. She was a brown tabby, so I changed the colors in that kitty pattern to look like her. But Fanci That has a lot of fairly primitive designs, although you can see that the color palettes, especially like on this one, and this is pretty representative of a lot of their patterns. The color palettes are probably brighter than a lot of them that we would find today. I mean, they're very 90s, but they're still fun, and I will probably at some point do both of those patterns. And there are a number of other Fanci That patterns that if I ran across, I'd want them. I would keep them. They were a lot of fun. And then the third one I'll talk about is Birds of a Feather. And Birds of a Feather is still, I believe, putting out some patterns. I think some of them are still available from Hoffman. But I know some of them have also gone out of print. Like there was a Sal that I participated in last year for the Sally Spencer sampler, the Mustang Sally Sal. And I believe that pattern is no longer available from Hoffman. That particular one has gone out of print, although I feel certain that you could still find it in some of the secondary markets. But they also have a lot of fun, cute patterns. And you can see that they have a variety. The aesthetic for these two is very different. Very bright and vibrant and cartoony and fun. This Too Many Treats Halloween cat pattern versus the Soweth sampler, which has a much more subdued vibe to it and very pretty soft colors instead of those brights. All of these I do plan to get to at some point. This one I've seen stitched a number of times. No bees, no honey. Again, I do plan to get to all of these at some point. Some of their, I already mentioned that some of their patterns are out of print, but you can still find a lot of them at some LNSs and in the secondary market also. Some of theirs on the secondary market are quite a bit more expensive. One of my patterns on my wish list that I would love to find is their, it's called the Happy Heart Sampler. And it's bringing a little bit more on eBay than what I'm willing to part with. But, I have a saved search and I'm watching for it. So I'm hoping that I will find it at a more reasonable price because I'm just not paying 50 bucks for it. It's not going to happen. And here is my Birds of a Feather pattern, Sally Spencer. Whoops, the glare is terrible because I have no natural light. It's all artificial light today. I finished Sally last year. And like a lot of folks, I included the initials of the folks stitching with me in that Sal. And I was very, very pleased with how it came out. I did stretch and frame it myself, so it is far from perfect, but it is done and hanging on my wall, and I love it and am proud of it. Those letters ate my lunch because they're very kind of random in the spacing. I know some people did it as an eyelet alphabet, and I think had I been smart enough to do that, it would have probably been easier, although it would have required some adjustment because they're frequently not symmetrical and they're offset by a stitch, so eyelets might have been a little challenging too. But I enjoyed everything but those letters. Those letters ate my lunch. But there is another Sal for this going on right now. I don't remember off the top of my head. I think Olivia from Pumpkin Hollow Quilts is one of the ones doing that Sal now. It's a very pretty piece, and if you have the pattern or can get the pattern, it's a fun stitch. So, I think that's about all I had right now. I was so jealous. I was going to do shepherd's bush, but somebody snuck in and did it before me, because those I would have had some to show you, and I have a plethora of shepherd's bush patterns and kits. And if anybody would like to see a review of my ridiculous shepherd's bush stash, y'all let me know. And I'll do that another time. But again, thank you, Cheryl, for including me. I sure have enjoyed doing this. It was fun kind of to go through my patterns and walk down memory lane with them. And those are all still in my active, I'm gonna do this someday stash. So I hope y'all find some of those patterns and enjoy them as much as I do. And I hope to see you guys again soon. In the meantime, have a wonderful, blessed day and enjoy your stitching in your life. And I will see y'all soon. God bless y'all. Bye-bye.